Welcome to another episode of Small Business Big Visibility. Today we're talking with Kevin Carroll, an author, business owner, entrepreneur, real estate investor, and life insurance rep. Kevin, tell us your story.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me here.
Yeah, I'm glad you came.
I love to share my story with people. I guess I started off when I was young. My parents are entrepreneurs, and my grandfather owned a brass foundry, and my grandma started a ski resort and a campground that are still in business today.
Holy cow,
and
that's
so my
amazing.
dad, he bought an electroplating factory, so heavy industrial coatings for industry, and so I worked out through college and high school and college, and then went off to college. And went to work in Colorado in the tech field, believe it or not, in computers.
Okay. Wildly different than,
yeah.
than metal coatings, right?
Yeah. I got a business degree from Kent State University, and then went off to do my own thing for a while. And a couple years in, the business was struggling, and my mom's like, "Come back and help, or I'm turning it off." So I did. And then my brother and I, he quit college and came back and worked with me in the company, and we turned it into one of the fastest growing companies in Northeast Ohio for multiple years in a row. And it was growing so fast.
From struggling to fastest growing, pretty much. Gotcha.
I mean, we just lived there, basically. And it got to the point where I was too young to handle the stress that this machine we created. And like, my dad died when he was 42, and I just had this feeling like, if I continue on this path, I'm going to do the same.
Gotcha.
And I don't want to die at 42. And so I wanted out, and so my brother wanted to stay, and so we figured out a way for me to make that happen. So I left Ohio, sold my house, got a divorce, and went west, and traveled around the country looking for a cool place to live. And I ended up in Taos, New Mexico, of all places, the land of mañana, and built a house.
A little different than Ohio, huh?
Yeah. And I built a house out of straw bale and mud in the desert.
Wow.
Where your taxes are $5 a year.
Okay.
No permits, just like you just build whatever you want out there.
Gotcha.
And with a buddy I met there, and he knew how to do the green building stuff, and I knew how to build a structure and do the plumbing and electrical and all that stuff. And so we built this home, and because you can live out there for almost free.
Wow. Right.
And then I was traveling to Bend, Oregon to learn how to build straw bale houses to code.
Okay.
There's actually a code to build a house, a true house. And I went to Bend and visited some friends, and my now wife was at the house at the same time, and she lived in Boise. And we hit it off really great, and I came back to Boise and visited her after Bend, and then came back to Boise a couple times, and then moved in with her, and that was 15 years ago, and now we have a couple kids, and
no more Adobe house in the desert.
Yeah, I gave it to my buddy, deeded it to him, and and when I started in Boise, I love growing companies and things, and so I thought, well, I'll be a business broker because I like to grow companies and learn about them.
Yeah.
And you need a real estate license in Idaho to be a business broker because there's like 20 in the whole country, in our state,
Right.
And so I got my real estate license, and I realized I think I'd rather have a better chance there than working for a couple years with no paycheck to maybe sell a business. And so got my real estate license, and that was back in 2008 when the market was just tanking.
Right.
And so I looked out there in the world of real estate and said, well, what's happening right now? Well, it was bank owns and short sales. And short sales are long sales, and they're horrible for everyone involved. And so I started networking with asset managers and got in a networking group and started selling bank owns. Well, in that 10-year period when I was a real estate agent, we sold 1,000 houses. Almost all of them were bank owns.
Whoa.
And I flipped over 100 homes across the country with different friends, and I started acquiring real estate during that time. So my wife and I would save up enough money, buy one house. And so at the end of that stint, we ended up with 5 or 6 houses in Idaho, and then I got some funds together, and I started buying houses in Indiana, and I bought 17 houses in 18 months there.
Wow.
And then I brought all my friends, and between all of us, we bought 55 houses in that town.
Whoa.
And so we were able to I brought my crew and my friends are really handy, and so we can repair a lot of the stuff ourselves in the homes. And so we fixed them up. So we would move into one of my houses that was a short-term rental. So I converted one, furnished it, so we could have a place to stay when we landed there. Because the first time we landed there, we landed in the broken house.
Oh, gotcha.
And we're sleeping on cots and, like cooking in the bathtub and, So once we got that all figured out, we could land in town and then be able to start working and come home to like a real bed.
Yeah.
So after I had the 17 houses, I ran out of money and I couldn't buy anymore, and I wanted more cash flow. So I started converting some of them to short-term rentals because I could take 10 grand and now double the revenue I make on it.
Yep.
And so now I have 8 of those there, and I've started to sell the ones that are not Airbnbs. I just have bad management experience, and the tenants, the regular tenants, are just horrible, and they just damage my house and don't pay, and it's horrible. So we're going to get rid of all those, keep the short term where we have our eyes on them, our ears on them, and kind of do that. And then since then, in Idaho, real estate after the virus hit, everything, our business just shut down, and I homeschooled my daughter.
Oh, okay.
Basically, because that's what everyone was doing.
Yep.
And so the real estate gave us the freedom to be able to do that. My wife was able to stop working. And then I was able to start a solar company for a year with 0 income, and it was okay. So I did that for a year, it didn't work, and so I shut it down. And then I got my insurance licenses. And so I sell home and auto insurance and life insurance. And the more I learn about that, the life insurance component can be the most impactful thing I can do for somebody.
Okay.
And so it's really powerful, and you can use this whole life as a foundation of your financial life. And so I'm starting to shift some of my assets into that as well to build a solid foundation underneath the real estate.
Gotcha. So I'm curious, were you naturally a numbers person? Did you learn that in college? Did you learn that in business? When did you become a numbers guy? Because everything you said, all those are numbers games that you're playing. So how'd you make that happen in your brain?
That's a great question. I'm not sure. My mom gave me tapes when I was a kid of like Acres of Diamonds, like the Wayne Dyer. She had all these like cassette tapes.
Yeah.
And I would just throw them in my truck when I was driving places and listen to all this wisdom. I've seen Wayne Dyer speak in person before he passed away. I've been to 3 of Tony Robbins' events. Oh, wow. Like some of these like motivational speakers and things like that to kind of keep my mind positive. So I don't know, I'm able to absorb mass amounts of data and then like build a system to do it. But the problem is that once I've built it, I'm bored. And so if I would just let the thing work for a while, it would be really good for me, So I'll put people in place. Once I design a system and build it, I'll put someone that wants to just do the day-to-day on it, so I can like keep building. Because that's where I get excited. Yeah,
you are the entrepreneurial mind. Like, here's a problem, how do I solve it? Oh, I solved it.
I'm bored.
Rats.
Yeah, I'm bored.
Amazing. So it is just who you are, that the numbers and being able to see the whole big picture and break it down into numbers and digest it that way. That's just a part of your brain.
Yeah, and so right now I found how I created those 17 rentals was I had one goal for the whole year, and I wrote it on a whiteboard in my office, and it was $10,000 a month passive income. That was the only goal. And if it helped me get that goal, I did it. And if it didn't, I didn't.
Gotcha.
So it was a real easy filter to be able to help just say okay, I ran out of money, I need commercial financing. Well, it took me 2 weeks of calling hundreds of banks to find one that would lend me money.
Wow.
So I got that figured out, and then I went through here, and I went through that, and then I ran out of money, and then I'm okay, now I can convert these and make them more profitable. So I just kept working on that goal for the year and that's what happened. And so my one goal this year is to help 100 families or individuals build these infinite banking whole life policies.
Okay. So a lot of people have probably heard of whole life and they've been told to run. Why should they not run?
Well, that's a great
and I
question.
mean run away.
Yeah. Well, if you design it traditionally, you should run away from it.
Okay.
But if you design it a certain way, orchestrate and basically build the policy a certain way, it's less beneficial for me and way more beneficial for you.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
And so, like, it's based on the commission, like basically how much I make as an agent.
Okay.
But if I design it a certain way to have immediate cash value, what it does is it gives you access to funds inside your policy to use to be your own bank, to borrow money from yourself in your policy. And when the numbers get big enough, there's hundreds of thousands of dollars in there. You could buy a business with the money, and it's your money. So you can use it throughout your lifetime, where a lot of the retirement plans and things, like I can't touch my 401k until I'm 59 and a half.
Right.
Well, that's way too long. Like, what if I wanted to borrow 200 grand to do something? I can't use those funds.
Right.
So there's other benefits, has lots of death benefits. If I die, my family's gonna be taken care of. And it has this continuous compound interest.
Okay.
So that's the basics of it. And it really takes me about 90 minutes to truly teach the concept.
Okay.
And so
how long has this, like you can look at whole life this way and you're saying, no, do it this way. How long has this avenue been available? Is this a new thing?
No, whole life insurance policies have been around for about 200 years.
Okay.
And so those components are available. They're just not widely sold because it's not lucrative for the insurance agent.
Oh,
but it's how the wealthy keep and store their wealth. It's one of their tools that they use, and it's just not very widely talked about. And it should be, because it's tax. It passes to your heirs tax free. Like, do you think taxes are going to go up in the future or down?
Well, probably up.
Probably up,
Yeah,
right?
probably.
Go look at the debt clock,
Right,
debtclock.org. It'll make your head spin. So, if we look when we get closer to retirement, and I'm not a financial advisor, I'm a life insurance agent, right?
Okay.
And these life insurance policies, they're not investments, they're a life insurance tool. Let me just be clear about that. But if you look at this from a retirement strategy, you can use these funds to extend the time that you take your Social Security. So when you turn 65 and you're eligible for Social Security, if you wait, the rate they pay you goes up 8% a year.
Okay.
And then when you die, the spousal benefit passes to your spouse at 8% higher every year you wait.
Wow.
So if you can use these piggy bank emergency funds to extend that, or if you have a big 401k and you start to retire and there's a big downturn in the market, the first couple years when you draw on that policy, you will kill it.
Right.
So if you use this as your backup and you don't draw from that, when it's down and you let it recover, it will survive.
Gotcha.
So there's all these things it can do. You can borrow in it, buy a truck, pay it back. You can put a down payment on a house, pay it back. Use it for an emergency, pay it back, and then it grows uninterrupted as well, which is kind of how could it grow interrupted if you're taking money out of it? But that's how it works.
Amazing.
So
who is this good for? How much does something like this cost a person? Is this something that you have to be in a millionaire status, or what? Who's this? Who does it work for?
The back of a napkin. The least, once you figure this out,
sure,
you're gonna say how much is the most I can put in, and there's some guidelines around that. The government has some rules where something will mech. If you try to make it an investment, it's gonna turn into a taxable event, and we'll make sure that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
But the back of a napkin is 10 times your age for month. So I'm 48. So the minimum I would want to put in is $480 a month to have it actually be impactful for me.
Gotcha.
But you'll see if you can do double that, it's very meaningful. And then we'll have people that maybe they sold a business and they've got $500,000 and they want to funnel it in here. We can get it in there in about 4 years and a day.
Gotcha.
So we can pump in a bunch of money, or we can start off with a reasonable amount. And what ends up happening is that people will do this and they'll say, I can only do $300 a month. Great. When you start to make more money, come back and we'll build another one.
Gotcha.
So people end up with 10 of these policies that really lean into it. And that's okay.
And so there's people at all different stages of business. Is this something that's good when you're barely, like you've just left your W-2 job, you're just starting out and you don't have income? Is this a good strategy at that moment, or at what moment is it, like when's the optimal time for people to really start exploring this?
You need to have extra cash at the end of every month.
Okay.
So you can put into it. Because once you sign the contract, you're committing to do it for a certain amount of time.
Gotcha.
So you need to be able to do that.
Just like a car payment. You
Yeah.
have to,
Yeah.
you're not going to sign up for this puppy unless you know you can pay it.
Yeah, you can make the payment. So we structure it in a way that's like the bulk of the payment goes into the booster rocket rider that like puts the money into the cash value component, and that is set for a certain amount of years.
Gotcha.
And so I typically do it like, can you do something for 10 years? Like if you can, now this becomes really meaningful. And so, but people, if they want to dump a bunch of money in, we can do it in 4 years and a day. But if we don't have a bunch of money, then we can do it over 10 or 15 years.
Gotcha.
But you probably know, like time and compound interest are your friends. So if you're 20 and you start putting in a couple $100 a month, the thing's going to be millions of dollars when you're retired.
And that's not just in this. This is any investment in life. The longer you either have assets working for you, or the longer you have assets working against you, loans, the bigger that impact is. So it's best to get the loans down as quick as you can and invest into whatever's paying you back, right?
And what this concept teaches is if you put your money in here first, and then you use the cash value to borrow that money from yourself and pay off your debt, you're just putting the money here first. So if you were to pay off all your debt, at the end you have no debt and you have nothing.
Okay.
Right? If you put your money here first, and then you use the money in there to pay off the debt, at the end, when all the debt's gone, you now have this big asset.
Gotcha.
And so it's just a different way of thinking that, like, we've all been taught, well, just pay off your debt. Like, but if you put your money here first and then you use this pile of money to pay off the debt, you end up with way more in the future.
Gotcha.
So it's a shame that it's not taught as much as it could be, because it can be significantly impactful for people. And there's a death benefit component, right? And so if you're going about your day and something bad happens, like your family's taken care of if we design it right.
Gotcha. That's some incredible stuff. So you've got such a variety of experiences. Let's touch on some others now, because you went to college, you grew up working hard, you were in the entrepreneurial life, you came back and ran the family business, you got out of the family business, you literally, like 180 degrees down to I'm living on nothing, in nothing, I'm living in dirt, down in your adobe hut, to now massive real estate holdings, so relative to most people, right? And now running life insurance. Looking back at that journey of your life, what is the things that you would say, I wish I had known this, I wish I would have done this? What would you advise other people to help them cut years out of their journey so that they can reach kind of that success stage where you're at now a little bit faster?
You know, that's a great question. I think your opportunities are presented to you in certain times in your life, and there's like times in your life where you're in growth mode and times in your life where you're kind of in like contraction mode.
Okay.
And that's just kind of like life. Life goes in cycles, so does the real estate market and everything. I think if you look at, like, learn some knowledge and then take action. Like, that's the most important piece, is like jump in and like figure it out as you go. Don't be afraid to make a decision and go, and then course correct along the way, right? I was introduced to that whole life policy about 10 years ago, and I wasn't ready, I didn't understand it, and I wasn't ready to receive the message. But if I was, I now would have a way bigger pile of money in that asset.
Right, yeah.
And I just wasn't ready for it. But what really made me successful was real estate. Like, that's what created almost all my net worth. And then, and some money in the stock market, and then time. Like, it doesn't happen overnight. And if you start with $100, it doesn't turn into $1 million overnight. It takes a long time. But as it grows, it just starts to grow more and more and more. It's that continuous compound interest and time. You know, and the real estate has all the tax benefits. I mean, there's oodles of stuff on there.
Sure.
You know, but you get all the tax benefits of it. You get depreciation. You know, you're helping families have a safe place to live. So it has all those benefits. We have our housing in Idaho is sober living homes.
Oh, okay.
And so we house 10 or 12 felons that are recovering addicts, and helps them come back, gives them a nice, safe, structured place to live to come back into society in a meaningful way. And that's really important work.
Yeah.
So those homes here are for that.
Yeah, that's transformative, because when they get out of prison, if they don't have a place to go, it can
they'll
fall
go
right back to where they were.
Yeah, so we have some really good success stories of people coming out of our houses that are like really like proud of themselves and doing really well in the world, and just giving them a safe place to live and structure helps them. So that's a meaningful thing that we do.
Yeah, I bet that really feels good at the end of the day, where you can say, not only am I making money for my family, but I'm making an impact in the community.
I mean, significant. The cost of keeping someone in jail is so expensive. And then putting someone back into a productive member of society, it's hard to quantify, but it's very meaningful.
Yeah, that you can't put a number on the lives you've changed that way.
Yeah.
So what else? When you were in the thick of it, when you were at your lowest moment, what would you go back and tell yourself today?
So after I left the electroplating business and I went out into the desert, like I was pretty broke, and I was used to living on a higher paycheck. And I had to like reset my brain. And so I learned from Dave Ramsey, and I literally got envelopes and I put all my money in those envelopes, and I reset my like paying structure. Okay. And I worked at the local bar and got a small paycheck and was trying to help them like grow their bar business, and you know, and but that really helped like reset the foundation. And then it was just keeping positive mindset. So listening to the wisdom of the people from our past, the Tony Robbins and the, you know, Wayne Dyers and the who's the guy that did Acres of Diamonds? I can't remember. But like things like that. Just stay positive. If you get in a rut, like I was at a place one time where I was really in a bad spot, and so I got up at 5 a.m. and I started walking. Like I'd walk a mile out from my house and a mile back, and I said, I love my life. And I would breathe in and breathe out, and I would say, I love my life, for about 40 minutes.
Wow.
And by the time I got back,
the brain.
I was buzzing. And you know what? I love my life. It was amazing. But I really had to like reset, you know, and that really fixed it. And then just stay positive, and you know, and then keep finding your way around, and set a goal. If you have 10, you're never going to do them. Set one meaningful goal, and go towards it.
So one of the things that I really like, as I'm looking at your life story inside my brain, I'm hearing you say, I worked like a dog to keep the family business alive, and it paid you some. Yeah. But what you discovered was, there's another way to think about things, and once you found and started to discover the other way of thinking, it changed your actions, and by changing your actions, you moved into this area of life where you're working as a business owner, but you're also building assets as an investor that makes it so it's safe for you to not be working. And so many business owners, I think, are missing that component of being able to have some sort of cushion, so that if they can't work, they're gonna still be okay. You gotta take something from your business that's generating the cash flow and put it somewhere meaningful for you. So I think 8 years ago, I joined a group called GoBundance. Okay. And it was a group of millionaires that were healthy, wealthy, generous men that choose to lead epic lives. Wow. And so it was a pod of guys that would travel together, and like we went skydiving in Florida, and we climbed a 14,000 foot mountain in Colorado, and we went skiing in Canada. And we would just mastermind at night. We'd play during the day and mastermind at night. And the wealth of knowledge, like I was the little fish in that room, right? But when you surround yourself with people that are doing things at such higher levels, it naturally just lifts you up. Oh, okay. And so like groups like that were really meaningful, because it just helped me like see like
if you ask someone that has $100 million, how do you make $1 million? They'll say, oh, do this. Like, that's easy, And so you have to elevate your friends.
Gotcha.
And hang around with people that are smarter than you and doing good things. And then if you find a mentor and you ask for their help and they tell you to do something, do it. Don't just say, oh, thank you. Do it and say, okay, I did it. What's next?
Oh, okay.
And then they'll say, oh, this guy's actually following my ideas. And then they'll say, okay, we'll do this. So then I do that. And I say, okay, I did that. Now what? And all of a sudden they will help you, and it will become deeper, and they will really dig in. Like what I've done with the recent mentor I'm working with. And it's like, okay, I can see this guy's like paying attention. He's doing what I'm telling him to do, and so now they'll really help you.
Yeah. So mentors, critical.
Yeah, I've had coaches throughout all my life. Tony Robbins coaches. I had real estate coaches in real estate. I have one now that I consider a mentor. So that's important. And while I was in GoBundance, I met this lady at a cocktail, some event we were at, and she is a ghostwriter. I'm like, well, what's that? And she's like, I help people write books. I'm like, will you write me a book? I'm like, sure, I want to write a book. And so I flew down to the East Coast. Her son had a restaurant down there.
Okay.
And we sat at his restaurant for 2 days, and she recorded and just interviewed me and asked me all of these questions. And then she took it and put all my words into a book format.
Oh, wow.
And helped me create the cover and get it published and all that. And so she put all my words into the book, and then we edited it a bunch and then posted it. So I now I'm an author.
Okay.
And it was really fun, and it was a time in my life when I was flipping 85 houses across the country with a bunch of different partners, and so it was a really fun time in my life. Yeah.
So how would people find your book?
You can find it on Amazon. So I don't know if you. So this is the book, and it's nothing fancy. It'd take you a couple hours to read it, but A Journey to Financial Independence. And it has a lot of examples about flipping houses and then using that money to do other things with it. The revenue, right?
Teaching people the formula you were using yourself to get yourself in a financial position that's...
Yeah, you can find it on Amazon. I think it's on Audible too. You can listen to it on Audible.
Oh, excellent.
And yeah, it kind of builds the foundation. So when you find whatever job you have, take that revenue and then you do something smart with it. For me, I was flipping houses, but I was taking that revenue and I was buying rentals.
Yeah.
And then those rentals tripled in value. I was looking for the $200 a month cash flow, but what really happened is I made $200,000 in equity.
Gotcha.
I didn't know that was going to happen.
Nice bonus, huh?
Yeah, it worked out. But that's really what happened over time, And it didn't happen overnight, but all of a sudden, you're like, whoa. So I track my net worth every year. I have for 20 years, and so I look at these things to see how are we doing,
Yeah. So if someone wanted to get a hold of you, how would they find you?
You can find me on Facebook or Instagram. Look up Kevin Scott Carroll, Carroll. That would be a good place to reach out. And if you want to schedule a time to just pick my brain, feel free to reach out, and I'd love to help you. Yeah,
I think you're at that stage where you are helping others reach upward in their life, right?
It's really my goals are now to help 100 people. That's,
Yeah, well, thank you. I appreciate all the knowledge and wisdom you've shared.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much for listening to another episode of Small Business Big Visibility. I'd love it if you'd subscribe and share this with other people so that they can start thinking about their financial future as well.